The Formula One world is in flames with the shock news of Lewis Hamilton's sensational switch to Ferrari. The move has reverberated through the paddock after Hamilton spent 12 glorious seasons with Mercedes. Well, as the new season preps for 2025, we have new scoop on Hamilton's preparations with the Scuderia. Reports are that Ferrari is sparing no effort to ensure the seven-time world champion is up to speed to take the fight to Red Bull's Max Verstappen and even his new teammate, Charles Leclerc. Private test sessions are already engraved on the calendar, a fierce winter workout scheduled, and speculation surrounding an upcoming Hamilton-Leclerc clash. Is this the dawn of a new era for Ferrari? Let's get into the ins and outs of the leaked details surrounding Hamilton's test drive and the master plan Ferrari concocted to bring him to the top once again. The approach of introducing Hamilton to the Ferrari team is methodical by doing the proper arrangements for him to move smoothly into the fold at some point into the 2025 season. Most of the focus from the public is on the driver side of things. However, Ferrari is doing its best to get Hamilton acquainted with their equipment and car as well. The team's first significant step towards preparing Hamilton before the season begins is 3 private testing sessions which will take place in January. The charming Fiorano circuit will be our first test site. This is a fresh experience, being an almost sacred ground of F1 testing. The Fiorano circuit, which has a certain level of complication in its formation, is the best place for Hamilton to get a taste of Ferrari's dimensions and the whole machinery setup. For this first test, the performance of the car is secondary, as we want Hamilton to adjust to the great feeling the car has regarding the ergonomics. The testing schedule, however, has not been determined, as they are finalizing on which chassis to use: 2022 F175 or 2023's F23, as the goal stays constant, easing Hamilton into Ferrari tailoring. Every driver at Ferrari deserves the best conditions. Also, it's snowing weather. They feel uncomfortable testing the car. Meanwhile, Fiorano winter is mostly cold, and the idea of being in the middle of testing in that weather could be a bit dicey, especially a driver who was used to a team that has its own technical language. Additionally, it's not Fiorano's day, so Ferrari has a skillfully planned backup plan for the Mugello or Imola tracks, which are pretty close to Fiorano. These tracks will be the best locations for testing in different weather conditions, as well as giving Hamilton challenges that will make him learn more effectively in the early tests with Ferrari. Education has always been one of the mainstays of our society, providing both knowledge for individual minds and a prop to personal growth. It gives people the tools, information, skills that they require to thrive and live fieldwork lives in society. Besides book knowledge, education helps people develop complex ways of thinking that can solve problems and create things that make up what we call creativity. Education facilities all provide people of all ages with information and skills to enable them to cope with future challenges. In this way, education supports the idea of lifelong learning, while immersing our people in the habits necessary to attain success at work and personal life. Because when we invest in education, we are laying a cornerstone for both personal and professional success in the future. And by investing in the future of society, we grant talented people an opportunity to realize their full potential. By holding 2 independent tests for Hamilton, Ferrari has demonstrated that they mean business when it comes to getting him another title-winning shot in 2025. This examination has in fact nothing to do with the driver. It is just that Ferrari believe Hamilton is quick at personality, and they are also of the opinion that Hamilton became the Ferrari savior, who would finally outdo Max Verstappen and bring Ferrari back to the first place of the sport, should he be prepared for the right way. Hamilton versus Leclerc, a brewing rivalry? The Lewis Hamilton arrival at Ferrari has already begun to turn the dynamics of the team around, especially in regard to his role alongside Charles Leclerc. Both drivers will form a formidable pairing, but it is evident that Hamilton's very presence will likely revolutionize how Ferrari shows up internally and externally. Gary Anderson, F1 commentator and designer, fears Hamilton's transfer to Ferrari could dent the team's comfort, which was acquired during Carlos Sainz's tenure. When the partnership between Sainz and Leclerc was friendly, there was a sense of competitiveness. Hamilton raises that level up much higher. First, Hamilton is a 7-time world champion who enjoys the same cachet and gravitas that Sainz does. There is no doubt that Hamilton will be more preferred by Ferrari at least at the start of the 2025 season. And that could be a bit uncomfortable for Leclerc, who has had a roller coaster career. Leclerc ed his Williams career as he was able to supersede the likes of Charles Leclerc. But he was simply an incredible driver, and now with Ferrari representing true prestige, his role could be that of a replaceable rather than the lead driver in case Hamilton decides to join, and the focus shifts there. The reports in regard to Hamilton's deal with Ferrari indicate the multi-year contract exceeds a staggering $400 million, which openly is against Leclerc's current wage. A possible danger is the disparity in wages, which might create a conflict not only between the two drivers over their different objectives, but also over their different styles of working. They are both highly skilled, yet they have opposite personalities and they work in contrasting styles which will increase the tension. Leclerc, normally being peaceful and well-thought, is a driver fighting himself, which is the source of his success and ambition. He has demonstrated that he's a quick learner, always fine-tuning the car configuration and having no problem in handling pressure. Nevertheless, Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, is of a different kind of intensity and leadership. The new to him is the old to Hamilton, as he has spent many years at the top, and this has taught him racing very well in a way that might not be the way of Leclerc. The simmering tension here could develop further and play out at the track, where Leclerc might find himself having to work to justify his position as Ferrari's #1 driver under Hamilton's design. The Monaco Grand Prix might be a turning point for the team, but Leclerc's excellent performance on his home circuit could favor the Monegasque over Hamilton in the Demat. The Monaco circuit presents arguably the most extreme example of a track that challenges a driver's ability to weave through both tight corners and thick traffic with top-notch precision, and Leclerc's experience there may thus offer him a little bit of an edge over his rivals, which would make it a staggering spectacle on Sunday. Regardless, the 7-time world champion's skills and his capability to remain calm under pressure might spoil the kid's chances for high positions, especially in a race where both of them could fight to become the leading figures of the team. How Ferrari keeps the rivalry in check is very important. In this context, the team needs to guarantee that competition is healthy and not so tense, which in turn ensures the unity of the crew. On the critical scale, Ferrari's execution of this will be a key factor in whether they can mount a serious challenge to Red Bull's dominance in 2025, as the world community will be watching them. Lewis Hamilton is gearing up to drive a Ferrari for the first time, and he will also have to deal with the recently introduced FIA regulations allowing for smaller teams to be able to test their cars. This is a big change for the 2025 season, and Ferrari will have to adapt their test strategy to make sure that Hamilton gets the most out of each of his relatively few runs. The FIA has made it top priority that the cap of 1,000 kilometers per driver be strictly enforced when conducting the preliminary test, also known as testing the previous cars, TPC. The regulation's primary objective is to ensure that all teams tread an even path without the abuse of their test sessions for activities other than driver preparation and race setup. The luck that Lewis is able to do is just the number of laps and the kilometers that every kilometer and lap becomes ever more crucial for him to get acquainted with the car systems, balance, and performance characteristics of the Ferrari. These are the very reasons why the restrictions are relevant to Hamilton, who has gotten used to driving Mercedes for over a decade, and now he will have to quickly adapt to Ferrari's technology. The idea of these regulations came about as the FIA had been worried that teams were misusing the test sessions for the benefit of their teams over the intent of the FIA. Red Bull was one of the teams that fell under the FIA microscope after they had ignored an FIA directive and run a questionable TPC test with Max Verstappen in 2024. There were allegations that the team had been doing the tests for technology development, rather testing the drivers, and in response, the FIA was forced to implement more stringent rules for the year 2025. For Hamilton, what this indicates is that the two private trials scheduled by Ferrari will have a greater importance. Both the trials at Fiorano and the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya will be very important, but Ferrari has to be sure that every lap Lewis takes is effective. There is only 1,000 kilometers of testing time left for Ferrari engineers to acquire the technical depth required, which will enable them to get quality data from each test and make sure Hamilton becomes part of the team seamlessly. Ferrari needs to be careful not to do any unnecessary testing. And every single second, the track will be used for a single goal, which is Hamilton's adaptation to the car. The testing period would also include performance testing under different conditions, which can be affected by these new regulations. Ferrari, therefore, will not be able to use the testing period for broader mechanical adjustments or multiple configurations, but rather, it will have to concentrate on helping Hamilton to understand the behavior of the car, acquiring the techniques to push the car to its limits, and optimizing his ability to get performance that falls between FIA's limits. This case is an additional pressure point for Hamilton and Ferrari. They have to make each test much more meaningful in order to they don't lose to leading countries which are pushing the development very fast. How the Ferrari teams are dealing with these limits and the way they are going to be preparing Hamilton for winning the championship will be the most important. Despite all the issues they've been having, like fighting Hawking and Marcus, the head of Ferrari's team, Fred Vasseur has still refused to give it up. Having been teammates in Sauber, both Vasseur and Leclerc have an extraordinary relationship that has lasted over 5 years, so he feels that he has a better understanding of the upcoming arduous season the drivers will face. On the other hand, Vasseur believes that Hamilton and Leclerc could prove to be the perfect combination for Ferrari in their bid for the 2025 Drivers' Championship. Vasseur is solaced by his confidence in his assertion that Ferrari did quite well in the 2024 races, and that he really witnessed a preview of their good performance. In terms of league performance, Ferrari had a mixed season, but overall, they closed the season by bouncing back from early failures. Thus, they showed how good they are at being able to adapt and to learn from their mistakes. Vasseur is convinced that Ferrari can get to a point where they are equal to Red Bull in 2025 with proper adjustments, which are to be made. The presence of two drivers of the top class like Hamilton and Leclerc offers the team a chance to get hold of the energy that will make them win and turn it into a winning recipe. Vasseur also points out that Hamilton's commitment to Ferrari has an incredible teaching value. Hamilton's depth of knowledge what it takes to win championships, besides his skill in the F1 spotlight, is a strong benefit to Ferrari. However, Vasseur also indicates to Leclerc the natural ability and motivation necessary for success, qualities which would be the perfect match to Hamilton's experience. As a result, they both could inspire each other to set new records, thus guarantee Ferrari's maintenance of the significant power in the title race. Vasseur thus simultaneously points out the obvious: the management of a high-profile couple such as the latter will definitely not be without its challenges. One of the team principal's main jobs will be to develop an environment where both drivers receive the same incentives and are in a position to win the championship. He will also have this to cope with the big task of setting the atmosphere right between Hamilton and Leclerc and preventing it from becoming a dangerous element of the team's success. Vasseur's motivation to stay optimistic is the result of his constant assurance that the R&D of the machine and the race plan of the team set high standards. The development in 2024 is just the first step, and with Hamilton's arrival, the winner will be Ferrari again. But for the team, it would be a major challenge to handle the two drivers who race to win yet cooperate to the end. And thus Ferrari is successful in getting its first championship in over 2 decades. It is evident from the fact that Lewis Hamilton has already moved to Ferrari that it has become the most talked about news for the Formula One fans. When the team is exhausting efforts in making Hamilton ready for the 2025 season, we have the opportunity to witness one of the most thrilling campaigns in the recent past. But questions persist. Will Hamilton be able to adapt quickly and chase after the championship? Can Ferrari balance both Hamilton and Leclerc at the same time? Is this the year when Ferrari will be at the top and might win their first title after a long time? As Hamilton tests his Ferrari next month for the first time, all the spotlights will be on the Scuderia. Be sure to give us your ideas on whether or not Hamilton can really bring Ferrari back to the top, or the conditions will be too much. Share your thoughts in the comments below.